Okay, and we are back. Go ahead, DR. Go on with your
Well,
first
one of
talking
the
about.
one of the things that I noticed, and it was when I had, I think, my second company, which was pretty large. My first company was only six of us. The second company started out at 26, and by the time 3 years later, we were at over 50 people. Now, considering the fact that I bought that second company when I was 23 years old, that was quite a task for me. It wasn't like the dot coms today. But I learned about gratitude because one day I was sitting down with a guy and he had done something spectacular. And I sit down with him and I said, "You have no idea how much I appreciate what you took the initiative to do." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, really." I said, "First of all, what you did helped everybody else in the company, and I appreciate that." I said, "Secondly, I think you're beginning to realize that you have more talent than what you knew, and you have more capacity than what you knew. And I'm grateful for that. And I'd like to see you continue to develop as a person and certainly as an employee in the company." But I said, "You've made a big difference, and you should know that." And I continued to praise him, and other people noticed. And then they noticed that I was praising them as well. And it became a place of gratitude.
Oh.
And that made all the difference. When you're grateful for something, work isn't the stress place that it normally is.
No.
You're grateful for each other. You're grateful for the opportunity to do what you do. You're grateful for the things that you can provide your customers or your clients. You just walk around grateful. And I think I told this on a previous broadcast, but I started out as homeless.
Ah.
So when you start out as homeless, you're penniless, you have nothing going on, and one person came along and said, "I'll tell you what, can you wash dishes?" "Yeah, I can." And from there, the man guaranteed my family 3 meals a day, and I received a wage for washing dishes, and that was what got us back on the path from poverty to poor.
Oh.
That was a step up.
That's being grateful for the small
Oh,
development and the small progress,
every
right?
day I
And
was
I was going to
grateful.
ask you because, you have to have gratitude as a part of the daily routines, but also daily cultures in organizations, as you talk about. But then it has to do with something. What I was going to ask you again, how is that if we have grateful employees
Uh-huh.
and they are not achieving their goals or they're not performing as expected, then you have to create some resilience in them as well. So that balance, how do you see that connection between each other when you talk about in the business world?
Well, the first way you have to express your gratitude is you have to sit down and tell somebody what their work and how what they're doing and how it impacts the company and the people around them. Most people don't know. They go to work, they punch in, they do something, and they punch out and go home. And they have no idea the impact they're making on the company.
Yeah.
And one of the companies that I consulted to was a company that manufactured outdoor plumbing. So, like hose bibs that go on the wall where you screw your hose into it.
Okay.
And there was a guy on the line there who was just, his whole job was to put in the little handle and put in a little washer. That's all he did.
Yeah.
And he did that for years, and he would do it and go home, do it and go home, do it, go home. I said to the guy that owned the company, I said, "Did you ever tell that guy how much you appreciate him?" He said, "Well, he's doing a job." I said, "Yeah, but what's your company like if he doesn't do that job?" "Well, we have to have those things." I said, "I understand that, but what's your company like if you don't have those things?"
Yeah.
"Well, that that would be a problem." I said, "So have you told him that? Have you
No.
shared that with him?" And the guy said, you're pretty interesting, DR. I said, it's not that I'm interesting. I said, I'm just bringing out points that make you a better leader, that make you a better businessman, and certainly a better boss.
Mm.
And I said, if you sit down with him and share with him how much you appreciate what he does and the contribution that he's making to the company, I said, you're going to have an employee that trusts you more, that's more open, feels like he's a part of the team. He's not unseen, just a guy that stands in the line and does this. You're going to have somebody who becomes loyal.
Yeah.
And when you have a lot of loyal employees, you have a stronger bottom line. Guy looked at me and he said, I can see that. I said, well, now you have a clue. Gratitude plays a huge part in what you do. And when you share with employees what that gratitude is and how much you think they're contributing to the company, you're getting a different response. People feel differently about you. People feel more loyal, and it's the foundation for trust.
Yeah. And I'm so curious because if we talk about, you mentioned it in the beginning there, that leaders think that, okay, gratitude is something soft and they prefer not to like focus on it as much, all the people, on all the employees. Everybody is important in the company.
Yeah.
And I would like to go back to that again because to keep employees motivated, they need to have gratitude, right? But again, they need to have gratitude also to not burn out, for example, but they still need to achieve their goals or the employers' expectations of them. So, and I found that recent studies show that, like from Deloitte, show that nearly 70% of executives are afraid that employees are going to burn out.
Yeah.
What is your what do you think about that? Do you agree with that? And how do you see that coming?
Well,
What is the important gratitude in that?
They absolutely will. But I'll tell you a little something you can do to avoid that.
Yeah.
If you're appreciative of your employee, what I used to do, and you don't have to do this, but it worked for me, and that is every 30 days, I would take the time but take the time to interview all of my direct reports. So all the C-level executives, I would interview them. And then the next level of management, I would interview them as well. And I would call them in and I'd tell them how much I appreciate them, tell them how what they're doing impacts the whole company and their fellow employees. And for many of them, when I first started doing that, they go, nobody's ever said that before. I said, I don't doubt that. I said, I don't care about it. I said, I want you to know how I feel. And then I would take the time in that same meeting, brief, it was usually 20 minutes tops. I would say, let's set a goal for your personal life. What are you trying to achieve in your personal life? Let me help you with that. Wow, that was uncharted territory for everybody. I mean, no, wait, bosses don't ask about your personal life. They don't care about your wife. They don't care about your children.
It's an important point. This we're talking about there. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. And so I would say, well, look, Oscar, what are you trying to accomplish? When you're not here, what are you trying to accomplish? Well, I want to be a better graphic artist. Really? That's a good goal. I said, what are you doing to do that? And he told me. I said, what do you need to get to the next level? And he told me, and I said, well, if $695 is what keeps you from getting to the next level, I appreciate you so much. What if I paid the $695 and in exchange, you just give us some of your great talent? You do some graphics for us. He said, I'd love to do that. I said, great. Well, that young man today is an internationally known artist, and he travels the world taking pictures and doing graphic things, great big graphics. I mean, some of these things are like 4 feet tall and 7 feet wide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're big, and he has museums around the world. where he sells these things. But that's how he exceeded. In
Yeah.
another case, a young man who was a great coder. He was a great coder. I mean, he could work fast, get a lot done, and I so appreciate what he was doing because he was one of the ones that was primarily keeping us on track and on budget for the development of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "So, what are you doing offline? I mean, what do you want to do?" He says, "Oh, that's interesting. Nobody ever asked me that before." I said, "Well, I'm asking. So, what's interesting to you?" He says, "Math." I said, "Math?" He said, "Yeah. I want to do math. Eventually," he says, "I'd like to teach math." I said, "Really? Well, what keeps you from doing that?" He says, "A PhD." So you already have a master's and you just need a PhD. So what keeps you from doing that? He says, "Well, my parents have already said they would pay for it, but I hesitate to ask them to do that, you know." And I said, "Wait a minute. You're not understanding how grateful your parents are for you because you've not been a parent. Every parent wants their children to be better than they are. They want
Yeah.
them to have more opportunities. They want them to have." And he looked at me, and because I'm saying it and not his parents,
Mm.
he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, really." I said, let me do something for you, if you wouldn't mind. Why don't we call your parents in?" And they lived about 2 hours from the company. I said, "Have them come in, and we'll all go to lunch, the four of us, and we'll talk about this." He said, "You'd do that for me?" I said, "Yeah, I would." So I sat down and I said, "Do you understand your child's goal? You understand what he wants to accomplish?" And they said, "Well, he's talked a lot about teaching math." And I said, "Well, that's a huge goal for him. And even if he left today, I would be so saddened, but I'd be really pleased at the fact that this human being was moving to the next level. He was getting even better."
Yeah.
They looked at me like I was weird. And I said, this is important. I mean, people are important and are very important to me.
Yeah.
I said, "No." He said that you'd actually pay for his education. Is that true? And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, it's July. He can start his PhD as early as September when school starts back up." I said, "Are you still willing to do that?" "Absolutely." So I turned to him and I said, "You want to go part-time or full-time?" He says, "Well, my dream would be to go full-time." I said, "I'll tell you what, you go full-time and I'll give you $100 a month as a stipend because of the work that you've done."
Yeah.
And he was over the moon. His parents couldn't believe it. Somebody was actually helping besides them. So when you get involved in people's lives like that, they matter to you, you matter to them, and other people know about it. It just happens. They know about it, and they go, "Wow, the boss really took interest in this case, his name was John, in John, and look what he's doing. He's going for his PhD." And the other guys who were programmers said, "Man, I wish I had a PhD." And they were all thinking about different things, but I encouraged the managers to have a similar meeting with the people that reported to them. And so now, from top to bottom, everybody's caring about one another. Everybody's thinking about, well, how could they be better on the job? How could they be better at home? How
Yeah.
could they be a better person? And that's, I don't know any better way to express gratitude than that. And it certainly didn't make me feel weak. It made me feel so humble, the fact that I was able to help people
Yeah.
get to the next level and accomplish their dream.
And that's so. I think there's something that is coming more and more. People are need to have the personal development and do what they are meant to be doing, because if they are doing what they are meant to be doing, the
Mhm.
purpose of their life and the purpose in their workplace or whatever their purpose is, then we're gonna have. I think then we're gonna have less stress in the world. Because I need to focus on something now, because I often talk about negative and positive stress, and how that affects a person to become more resilient or not, how you respond to that part. And
Oh, absolutely. You
yeah,
know, you work.
and I just want to ask you a question about that, because what are your thoughts when we have like, do you have like I don't know if that's the right vocabulary, but like a break-even point when we that we're not getting a haven for employees, like a safe haven for employees. They can do what they want, and they like to get off their job, or and they still feel that they can perform and feel motivated, and also be happy about the place where they're working, but also still feel that like they have a positive stress.
Mhm.
How do we achieve that, do you think? What is your thoughts on that break-even point? Where is that?
Well, there's a break-even point for every company and for
Yeah.
every person and everyone that you deal with. Even a piece of machinery, if you can't produce a certain number of parts from that piece of machinery, you know, it doesn't go past the break-even point, then it's not worth keeping, or you're going to have to upgrade your technology or whatever. So there's a break-even for everything. But with people, you know, one of the biggest single issues, in my view, about people and their stress is the fact that they feel so unappreciated at work. And that just causes them stress. Why am I here? I'd
Yeah.
rather be home with my family. And so then you wind up with a bunch of people thinking at work, I'd rather be home with my family. And then when they get home, they realize, oh, wait, the work pays for my family.
Yeah.
And so now they're stressed because they got to get back to work to do the work that they should have done the previous day, but they were thinking about their family. And it's that work life balance just goes, whoa, just way out of tilt. And so people haven't learned to be in the moment. In the moment.
Yeah.
That changes a lot. And so when you finally decide where you want to be, and you finally decide that you're committed to work, whatever hours that you're working, or whatever you're doing, or whatever days you're working, and that you're going to do that, and you're going to do the very best that you can, then you're going to feel much happier. But if there's no appreciation, no gratitude from management, it makes it very, very tough,
Yeah.
because the employee is he's trying to do a better job. He's trying to get more out. He's trying to do whatever his position happens to be.
Yeah.
And if nobody's expressing any gratitude, that creates stress on him, and he takes that home. It's called kicking the cat. That's a literal term for it, kicking the cat.
Yeah.
Because they go home, and because they're so unhappy at work, first thing they do is see the cat and kick it. Now that little saying was developed back in the 50s, and
Yeah,
it's
but it has some truth in, because you have to be
true. Yeah,
appreciated at work for what you're doing, because you are there. Most people are working 8 hours per day normally. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, or less, more or less. But you have to have some kind of appreciation during that time, and being acknowledged for what you do and accomplish. And if you don't have that, of course, you're not going to be happy when you go home, and the
that's
family's not going to be happy to see you, because you're going to be negative
yeah,
stress and everything.
exactly
So, of
right.
course, it's true. Yeah.
It's a sweet metaphor for the fact that if you're not happy at work, you're going to take it out on your family.
Yeah.
And if you're not
Absolutely.
happy at home, you're going to take it out on your fellow employees. And it's a cycle. It's a
Yeah.
huge cycle. So the only way as an employer that you can get past that is to understand it, find out what's going on. You know, you got an employee that just seems disgruntled and seems like a problem all the time. Dig in and find out why. I think most employers are afraid to find out why.
Yeah.
It's so much easier just to say, "Oh, you got a problem? Okay, you're gone. Problem solved."
Yeah. But there's not that needs to be something that is developed into organizational culture more, I think, because being interactive with employees, both private life and professional, there's not many people that do. They do that often too late. When people get burned out, then they do, oh, what is your relationship at home? And then you get like the rehab
Right.
activities. But you have to do something before that. And then gratitude is something that's really important. But I would like to ask you then, if we have a whole crew of people in a company that is feeling like this, what is the best advice you would give to, you say listen to your employees, but what is the best advice? Do you have some typical tips that executives, CEO level or whatever they have for what their executive levels are, whatever, what advice would you give them to
Well,
interact with their employees?
let me speak as a consultant.
Of
So,
course.
as a consultant, if I went into a company and I found that there's a group of people that are so dissatisfied with what they're doing, their production level is down, they can't get people to take the initiative to do anything. I I tend to put it back on management and say it's your problem.
Yeah.
You're not treating these people well enough so they feel like they even have a safe space in which to work.
And
What?
what would be the
What?
main part of that? What is the main problem that they are not solving then when they have that issue? What is that? Is it some particular thing that, or is it just achievement and appreciation?
It's
That
appreciation, it's
yeah,
gratitude. If I'm telling you, this is such a deep subject. If you show no appreciation, I mean, try that at home. If you've got a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, and you just take for granted everything that they do and never show appreciation, how long do you think that relationship's going to last? Not
mm,
long. You've got to be appreciative. You want your children to feel something towards you. If you're not appreciative, you've got a rebellious child. It's
yeah,
that simple. And it's so simple. And in work, going back to work now, the way I would tackle it, whether I was a CEO or just a top level manager or whatever, the way I would tackle it is I'd start calling those people in and I'd just ask them point blank, Bob, I want to know what's going on. Why do you seem so disgruntled? Why are you unhappy at work? What can we do to change that? What how can I help you change that? And let them talk. And in their talking, they will give you the answer. They'll absolutely give you the answer. And
mm,
I'll bet you in a group where you find kind of a collective that's sharing that problem, that they're going to say the same thing.
yeah,
And it's going to boil down to, well, nobody gives a hoot whether I'm here or not. Nobody nobody cares what I do. You know, it doesn't seem to matter. Management asked me for this huge report. I turned in a 30-page report on something, and it's just like it went in a black hole. Nobody said thank you or wow, this is impactful. This is going to help us get down this path or do something. Nobody said anything, and that happens all the time.
yeah, it does.
That's why employees walk around stressed all the time because, quite honestly, if you're not feeling appreciated, you're also feeling like probably the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to get fired.
Yeah. And I think that is such a common problem amongst people that are working and have, oh, not an executive level, but employees in general, because if you don't get that appreciation, then you have like, and you can sometimes think that is that a strategy from the organizations to do like that, to feel that they still need to like be on the top level, that should be afraid of jobs or something like that. But I think that balance is so important because you need to, as you say yourself, you need to speak to them. And if they all have the common denominator, this is the problem, then you need to solve that as executives and on board levels to really
Exactly
keep
right.
those if they are important for you.
That's
Uh,
right.
Absolutely. And what do you think about then if you go back to the part of being resilient? Because we talked about those two, like they are hand in hand. And do you think if you are grateful that you become more resilient at work, or do you think that you need to be more resilient, and then you can be grateful. How do you think that connection is based on your own personal self-leadership in your work, for example?
My view on that is that resilience is right there all the time. And think of it like money. If you're not being appreciated, you're pulling out of your resilience pocket all the time to prop you up and make you feel better. You go home, your wife said, there, honey, it's okay. They just don't understand how good you are, or whatever it happens to be. And so then their support team comes into place, and their love and appreciation of the individual. But imagine how many people don't have that. And that is particularly true of the workforce that's between 20 and about 34 right now, is that they don't have that.
No.
They simply don't. And so their resilience is very low. So if you bring appreciation and gratitude into the workforce, and you start appreciating them, you'll be doing something no one has ever done. Because everyone that seems to interact with that age group doesn't really express appreciation for anything. They don't express appreciation for anybody else. I'm currently working with a vice president of a major corporation, global corporation, and she was teaching me something. And I said to her, "Oh, I'm so thankful for this. Thank you very much for taking the time to teach me this, because I didn't learn it when it first happened, and I should have spent more time with it. So thank you. I really appreciate that."
Yeah.
She responded and said, "Oh, you've helped me so much. You don't have to say thank you to me." What? What are you talking about? Of course I have to say thank you to you. I said, saying thank you to you is my gracious way of showing you that I appreciate what you did. So
Yeah.
those two words express appreciation. She said, I never looked at it like that. She's 34.
Yeah, that builds someone up, and you get confidence in yourself when you hear that. Also, of course, that somebody believes in you and are thankful for the things that you do for them, and that is something that every person needs to have, depending on your age. So I think it's really important. And I was going to also ask you, like, we're going to talk about also, I think, about the next generation. I mean, the next generation of gratitude, and we talked about resilient leaders, future resilient leaders, future of leaders that are grateful, and also employees that are grateful, and making that culture. What is needed to achieve that, do you think, for the coming generations?
Well, the problem is that so many people who lead believe that if I raise my voice like this, that they're going to follow me because I was dead set on what I want and when I want it. As opposed to saying, okay, team, we've got an opportunity here to accomplish something that hasn't been done before. And I think every one of you are up to the challenge. I believe in you and I appreciate you for what you've accomplished. Let's go get them. Which person would you rather work for?
Yeah.
The unfortunate part is that many of the leaders that we have right now are not what we would term old school. They're the people in their 40s and 50s as CEOs, and some even younger, that didn't even understand that as part of business, period. I mean, appreciation is part of business. That's not business. You can't take a class on that in college. So why would it be part of business?
It must be a class in college about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are things that you have to learn and you have to be open to. But if I had, my largest company was 500 people, 500 plus, but I know I demonstrated appreciation and gratitude to the people, and my people under me did that because that's what I was teaching them, and I watched it happen all the time.
Yeah.
But absent that, big companies should take the idea that, hey, maybe we need to teach appreciation. Maybe we need to tell people how it's done. Maybe we need to give them real life examples of people within the company without using names that have this problem of not giving appreciation and what their success ratio has been versus those that do. And I'll tell you, I would match a leader's ability to lead and get maximum production out of his people if he's expressing gratitude versus the individual who just says, let's get it done. Go on, get it done.
Of course.
It's just, we say of course, but I'm telling you, this is a huge problem in business today.
Yeah.
People get so caught up in their own power that they don't take the time to express appreciation for others. They don't take the time to see how that appreciation would back up against them and their objectives. If they realize that, they would change. Stress goes down, people are happier at home. Everything changes. Everything changes when you begin to express appreciation in the way it should be expressed.
Yeah. And why I said, of course, I think it's something that's so obvious. But if people don't see the benefit in time of doing that and taking the time for it is versus the getting things done in time, deadlines versus being grateful for the progress.
Yeah.
I think then you should have some kind of culture, and then people in that organization should be the person that are the people that give the gratefulness to others. I mean, you have HR, of course, but they are not the person that are saying that we are grateful for you. But you should have some kind of people that do that as well. I think if you don't have the time yourself as a chief executive or whatever your level are, and if you have a lot of employees and you don't have time for it, you should have other people doing it for you to your employees to keep them happy. And it's not always HR that has that responsibility.
Well, if you look at a management organizational chart, you can see exactly who should be teaching this.
Yeah.
It goes from the CEO down to the next level of C executives, and you teach them, and they teach the next level, and that level of management starts teaching the employees, and it works its way down.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But when you're so power hungry or so rich that you think just people should follow you just because you're you, that's a problem. And that translates to employees in stress, poor work habits, not getting assignments done the way they should. And so you're constantly asking, when are you going to get that done? I gave that assignment to you 2 weeks ago. When are you going to get it done? When are you going to get it done? As opposed to, that report's going to really make a difference in our company. We're counting on that report to help us understand this next level or where we intend to go.
Yeah.
And so your report is really important, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Which one creates stress and which one says, I need to get it done?
Yeah. No, but I agree. That's you have so many good examples of how to become a great leader for people to stay grateful and have that in make it like an organizational culture to become grateful and also resilient at the same time. And I really appreciate this talk with you today. And I was going to ask you also, do you have something more that you would like to add based on your new initiatives with this concept of character that you want to share with the audience? Some new developments there?
Thank you so much for giving me the time to talk about that. Well, 4 days ago, we put out a new website called Your Character Counts as part of our Tiny Tales initiative. We developed Tiny Tales to educate third graders, beginning there with all kinds of character, the 25 essential character traits. Along the way, we realized, wait a minute, we got adults that don't understand character. And they don't even understand what they should be doing. Just respect, What if all the people you interacted with understood respect? You got a much different world. So we wanted to teach that to the kids, and we thought, well, what are we doing for the adults? We've got all this knowledge about these things. What are we doing for them? So we came up with the idea of something called CIC, which stands for character, integrity, and credibility. And I'm going to just tell you that no matter what your success level is, if you've got high character, high integrity, and high credibility, you are going to be fabulously successful. It's just that what people will gravitate to you. Clients will gravitate to you because they know they can trust you, because they know that you've got their back, because they know that you're the kind of person that wants to see them be successful, not just you. That's a whole different level of everything. So we put together this website called Your Character Counts. There's a very simple paragraph pledge that you take, and when you take that pledge, it's free. We will send you a little welcome kit that gives you some additional information. Then once a month, we send out a positive-oriented newsletter that focuses on a particular piece of character, integrity, or credibility. So that's our attempt to help the older folk catch up with what their third grade counterparts are learning right now.
Yeah, but that's very important because we need that. We don't have that in us. We should, as you told us, we need to have that in an early age, to have it as an educational tool, to learn it, to have it as we talked last time about DNA, a part of DNA, right? You have to be, you have to have it in you, and yeah, just it's really important. And I would like to thank you for this episode, and we will talk next time. We need to discuss which topic of this amazing character traits that we have. But we will set up a schedule so you guys that are looking into it will have specific times and days when we can have the continuous in this series of amazing episodes.
If you're asking me what I think we should go to, I'd like to talk about responsibility.
Then that's the subject for next time. Absolutely.
I think that's one of the greatest things that people are missing, particularly the younger people, is accepting responsibility for what they do, what they're supposed to do, and what the outcome is supposed to be. They just don't accept responsibility, whatever.
And I think that resonates a lot with the subject today, that gratitude and being grateful.
Yep.
So it's absolutely, it's just a balance there. So absolutely, I agree. Then we'll do that. That's it.
All right. Sounds
Thank
great.
you so much, dear, for taking the time today. And for your viewers, if this episode resonates with you, please subscribe to this channel, and then you will have a link when we go live. We will get it on your email and your apps and everywhere you are watching. So until next time, and take care of yourself, and have a great day, and see you next time. And thank you again, dear.